22?
22 people showed up.
Oh my gosh, that is so wonderful.
And I was talking to her at the beginning, and I said, "Yeah, that's really special." And she goes, "Yeah, well, it's probably because it's like the new year and New Year's resolutions." I said, "Yeah, I think it's more than that. I think when you started this manifestation game,
Yeah,
it shifted the energy of the group, and now it's attracted all these new people that we haven't even seen before.
that is so
And and
great.
and they were loving it, and it was a good meeting. So yeah, something's happening over there.
Something's in the air. I love it. I know. I was kind of wondering because since I canceled the last two, I was thinking, gosh, I hope I have not lost traction. But then I thought, well, I'm just gonna let that go and move forward and see how things go. You know what I mean? But yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's so cool.
it is cool. And that's the thing I had said to Sonia is yeah, you experiment with different things, you don't know how it's going to play, but then when you hit on something that's working, I think you got to keep doing that. I'm
Yeah,
like, I think you got to like always every time do that manifestation game because it's working for everybody.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I know. And I've been thinking about that too. When we get closer to finishing up this time, we can talk about maybe what we want to do for the next season of the Asking and is Given book study. But yeah, no, I think that's amazing.
But I also think that because at least from my experience, because of it being something to do with money, beginning of the year and all that, I'm seeing a lot more where people want to manifest, you know, the money part,
Yeah,
and then eventually they'll dwindle off. But that's just my experience in the past 60 decades plus. You know what I mean? But like I said, it it was great. I enjoyed it as well, Leo. And
Yeah.
and Leo took over. He handled the whole show. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I love it when Leo has such wonderful examples of things.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
really
Don't
wonderful.
don't think I don't have my eye on him for co
And such
co-herding
great
this meeting,
stories.
but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Leo, you are a storyteller,
Yeah,
you know,
Thanks.
really are.
yeah, you've
Thank
I
you.
love
been
it.
a wonderful
Very
dynamic.
few people can
Yeah.
very few people have that skill.
Well,
I
well, thank
certainly don't. Yeah,
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
you're
And
welcome.
that's interesting coming from like a kid who like didn't really speak a lot, you know.
Yeah,
But yeah, but
look at you now.
no, look at me now. Well, you know what was interesting about that meeting is that there were a lot of new people that showed up, and they were talking about money and career and family and relationships and all that sort of thing. And Sonia's like, "So Leo, do you want to chime in here?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then I come in with my stories and examples and things like that. Because if that helps people to understand the concepts better and how to apply it, because if you can't take the Abraham law of attraction type materials and you can't apply it to your life, then it doesn't really matter. Then it's just conceptual, it's theoretical, and da, da, da. It's finding ways of taking the material and explaining it to people so they can go, "Oh, I get that. That resonates with me. I can use that now. I can, implement it in my life." So yeah, if I can do that, then I'm happy to do it. So
Yeah,
thanks, Mary.
yeah. No, I feel like you've been a wonderful addition to this whole thing
Oh yeah,
for
totally.
sure.
The the
Me too,
the the the,
Christina.
the law of attraction ball of wax.
Yeah, Leo, you definitely have yeah, a lot of really good stories that you applied last week and every week to these
Yeah.
meetings. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
truly.
thank you. you know, I
You're
never,
welcome.
I never told you this, but what I've been doing for the last year, that I started coming to these meetups, is I would, you know, I wasn't as versed in the Abraham stuff because I'm more from the like the Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay school.
Right.
But as I'm learning about it, I'm like, you know, I'm gonna experiment with this because I want to see if I can prove it wrong. You know, I want to see if I can prove the Abraham stuff wrong, because that's going to tell me how solid this material is. And over the last year, I've been just experimenting and practicing, and I haven't been able to do it. So that really speaks volumes as to how powerful the message is, because I haven't been able to prove it wrong, because it seems like it works.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and going into that, if you look at the information from Wayne Dyer and from Louise Hay and from almost anyone else in this realm, really, it all coincides. It all comes together. No matter what I'm reading, no matter who I'm listening to, I can pull from it and understand it and bring it back to the basics of the law of attraction as well. You know what I mean? It's all, I feel like it's all in the same realm, you know?
It's yeah, it's in the same realm. The thing I notice that's different about Abraham is it's more sort of a singular focus on being present,
Yeah,
but with all these tools that you can use, like the pivoting and the calibration and like things like that. But they seem to be focused like a laser on, you just need to be present.
right.
And when people in the hot seat start going off on all these tangents, they're like, no, no, no. And they kind of like guide them back to,
I'm back.
let's just be present, you know?
Yeah,
So that's really been the main takeaway for me.
And you know
Is
what, Leo, though?
yeah.
You're I don't know how old you are, but you've been using this for a long time, I think.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
you mentioned that a lot. And it's so that's what makes it even more powerful,
yeah.
that, you're you're a living you're living proof.
You are a
You know
Hey,
what I
if
mean?
hey, I know what you mean, because if a pretty face like myself can do it, anybody can do it,
living,
right?
do
But
it.
yeah, but thank you for recognizing and sharing that, because yeah, before you know, well, just to let you know, I'm ageless, you know, but um
I love it.
but but before I went down the YouTube rabbit hole and I really started looking at the Abraham stuff, you know, a few years ago when the pandemic hit, yeah, it was just years. I mean, like, oh, like, you know, 20 years before that, of just, oh, and this and Gary Zukav and this other person and The Secret, and you know, and
Yeah,
all those things. So when I finally got to, okay, I'm really going to do the deep dive and really study the Abraham stuff, it's like I already had the primer of all those other teachers and, you know, before that. um, but what I can say is the Abraham materials have helped me to fine tune what I've been doing for a long time.
right.
And I had no idea that I was actually already doing it, just by, you know, different verbiage. But now I'm like, oh, I can fine tune this and I can tweak this, and now da 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 da. And everyone's like, it's like magic. Well, yeah, that's really the magic of law of attraction, is once you kind of know how it works, and you start experimenting and practicing with it, then to everybody else it looks like magic, but it's really not that hard.
Yeah,
Well, but you know
So
what, Leo? I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of there's a lot of men that are not like you, and you're pretty amazing that you are, willing to kind of dive into it and use this. I really wish there were more men out there that,
Yeah.
really, what, I don't know.
Well, I want
There's,
I want to speak. I want to, while we're recording this for the info webs, this is an important point I like to make because I don't think this gets discussed a lot. And then EFT, but um, the thing I've noticed over the years is I'm usually either the only guy or one of maybe like two guys that shows up to like the yoga class or the meditation class or the tea leaf reading or like whatever it is. um yeah, but I've always had a fascination with the strange and unusual, so I that's kind of like where I go. um but yeah, I've noticed that I would love to see more men kind of come into the holistic metaphysical sphere, but it tends to be primarily female dominated, because I think maybe naturally women just kind of go to that place, intuition and things like that. But yeah, I'd love to see more men come on board. But it doesn't seem to be on their radar, I guess.
I think as we've come into this new age, we're going to be seeing it a lot more.
Yeah,
I do feel that, in the idea that in the yin and yang of it all, the yin is naturally more the place of being, and the yang's naturally more the place of doing. And so I think that has a lot to do with it, because that's traditionally been the masculine feminine. But as we've seen, those structures are shifting, and the identities and the definitions of it all. And so I do feel that we're seeing it more and more than we used to.
yeah, yeah. Especially since a lot of the law of attraction teachers out there are men.
Right.
So
So
it's
interesting,
interesting.
isn't it?
It's yeah, that's interesting. But just having, I think, more men in the population in general kind of coming on board and checking it out and getting interested in it. um yeah, you know yeah, I'm a little different.
In such a great way.
Yeah, thank you, I appreciate it. And thank you, Mary.
Yes.
I appreciate your words.
Okay. I believe it is about that time. So we are going to go ahead and move into our meditation so that we can move forward with the book study part of the evening. Let me go ahead and get the tapping points on screen, so that we have them. And you guys can go ahead and settle in, turn your microphones on mute. But feel free to, repeat out loud after me. I feel like that there is power in hearing yourself repeat the words. So for those words that resonate with you, that you feel compelled to repeat, I recommend that you do that, even though you'll be muted. Go ahead and let's see here. Okay. This tapping meditation is called Breaking Through Resistance. So before we get started, definitely settle into your chair. And we're going to take a few deep breaths, count of 5 in, and we're going to hold for 5, count of 5 out, we're going to hold for 5 out. Okay. Breathe in, hold, and out, hold, breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold, breathe in, hold, Breathe out. And all right, as always, let's go ahead and start with the side of the hand. I love and accept myself exactly where I am, even when I don't feel strong. I love and accept myself, even when I don't understand why I seem to go in circles. I know that I am a co creative being, and I love and accept the resistance for what it can teach me. Eyebrow, sometimes I feel like I will never break through resistance. Side of the eye, I have frustration around the thoughts that I feel programmed to. Under the eye, I know that I am able to manifest. Under the nose, and yet I struggle. Under the mouth, how do I get beyond this? Collarbone, my heart knows that there is more. Under the arm, my emotions do not always match that knowing. Top of the head, I want to allow my higher guidance to assist me. Stop there for a moment, and while taking a deep breath in, I invite you to say, I am a co creative being. And then exhale the words and say, this is who I am. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. One more time. Breathe in. And breathe out. Eyebrow. I am a co creative being. Side of the eye. I don't have to be in a hurry about any of this. Under the eye, I can see that all is taking form. Under the nose, one step at a time, I am able to acknowledge resistant thoughts. Under the mouth, I do have the ability to shift my set point. Collarbone, I can have compassion for the moments of contrast. Under the arm, I am able to remember that I am a fluid and amazing being. Top of the head, Source, I ask you to guide me to even more clarity. Eyebrow, I have access to all that is in my vortex. Side of the eye, I can see the results of my creation. Under the eye, I can find the joy in this visualization. Under the nose, this brings a shift in my emotional set point. Under the mouth, I can speak about this with excitement. Collarbone, my body can be at ease knowing that I am safe. Under the arm, this is my faith, belief, and knowing. Top of the head, I allow myself to be authentic in who I am. Okay. Take a deep breath in. Hold. And out. Hold. And one more deep breath in. Hold. And out. And hold. All right. How are we all doing? Yes, Leo.
Yeah, I wanted to say I really like the words you used in that one.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, because every line that you read, I'm like, yeah, that's on point. Yeah, that one hits just right. Oh yeah, it's good. Oh yeah, oh it's getting better. Oh, you know.
Great.
So yeah, when you go to upload this one, let me know because this is one I would really like to come back to.
Like to listen to again. Okay, definitely.
Yeah,
will.
yeah, because every line I was like, yes, that one. Yeah, good. Oh, a better one. Oh yeah, because that's what I've been saying for a long time is how much better can it get?
Yes,
You
absolutely.
know, so that EFT definitely is in alignment with that.
Oh, good, good. I'm so glad to hear that. Okay, well, I think we are in the right frame to use our Abrahamster wheel. So let's go ahead and roll on out and see what chapter and process we will be reading tonight. Definitely improved upon my wheel skills, I think. I used to struggle a little bit. Okay, we are going to be reading chapter and process 14. So let's go ahead and get that pulled up on screen.
Did you say 14?
14, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so the chapter, some things you knew before you arrived, and the process will be the process of clearing clutter for clarity. I think that's a wonderful process to have right now, at least for myself. So, and really, truly, very fitting for the new year, right? um, okay, so if we don't have anything further to discuss, I'm going to go ahead and pause recording and pull up the chapter so that we can begin reading. And I think, like I said, let's go ahead and just each take a page. Okay.
Really?
Yeah, it really is only 400 miles.
Wow. How about from Tucson? I guess a little bit more.
No, not really, because you've got the 8 and you would just head over on the 8. So I think it would maybe be the same. Yes, Leo.
Yeah, it was interesting that section there with Phoenix to San Diego. because I've lived in both. You know,
Yeah.
I've lived in Phoenix. I lived in San Diego, and I remember being there in California, going, no, I don't think this is the right place for me to be. And then things just transpired where I found myself back in Phoenix again. So that's interesting. But yeah, it's like the sort of back and forth, like you're in Phoenix, you're going to San Diego, but now you're in Phoenix. I mean, I've had situations in my life where it wasn't that. Like I ended up in like backwoods Arkansas, and it's like, wait, well, how did I get here? That was not. It wasn't even the same, direction or time zone or anything. But that really is the logic to it. That if you point yourself in that direction and you just keep moving towards it,
Eventually.
yeah, eventually you're going to end up there. But I think that's where people kind of lose the focus or the momentum, and then they end up not not going there. The other bit that go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you go.
Please finish. I will go when you're done.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to say, what was in relation to what was read there, is that I forgot my thought. It was a good one. Oh wait, it's coming back to me. People will ask themselves, if I'm studying this material and I understand it and I'm applying it, like, why isn't it working? Like, why am I not seeing the results? I think that's really the big thing for a lot of people. Kind of like, all right, I'm eating right, I'm exercising, I'm going to the gym, but I'm not seeing the results. Like, what's happening, right? I think it's because they have too many conflicting beliefs underneath the surface that they may not even be aware of. It's kind of like I remember seeing this interview with Tony Robbins years ago, and they asked him, what would you recommend for people to kind of like move past things and be successful? And he said, resolve inner conflicts. And I think that's what a lot of people have going on, because they're not doing the inventory. They're not kind of going through and saying, what do I really believe? Because a belief is just a thought you keep thinking, and they don't have any they don't have a really solid understanding of what's there. So they're piling all of this stuff on top of that, but it's they don't have a firm foundation to build that on. And I think that's the process that Abraham talks about, is kind of like doing an inventory, deconstructing that, redirecting your energy. I don't know. Am I onto something there?
No, I absolutely agree. And I think that that's something that I've touched base on before, because when you're doing affirmation work and work such as this, you can be saying the words all day long, but if the underlying belief systems are not consistent with the words that you're saying, the response is going to be to the underlying beliefs, feelings, and emotions, not the words. You could say anything you want to, but if the underlying meaning behind it is not the same as the words you're saying, if that's what's going to be connecting and that's what's going to be manifesting. Yes, Leo.
Okay, so this is a good one. You just inspired a thought here that I want to share in relation to what you just said. So you've heard of people that they get into a cult, and then they escape the cult, and then they go to a person that's called a deprogrammer that helps them to like unravel that ball of yarn that was the life they were living, and they sort of like deprogram them from all of that stuff, so that it's like, no, these people, this is your family and your friends, and maybe you were taught to like not trust them, but these are the people that love you, and like that.
Right.
I think what happens is people are sort of like in their own cult, and like they're the cult leader and the follower at the same time, and they have to deprogram themselves and say, that's not necessarily true for me. You're like, I can be abundant and prosperous and happy and fulfilled and all those things, all that stuff that I kind of like learned, that's not necessarily true,
Right.
you know? So it's,
And
what
it's
is this? It's
it's
like,
a process, there's
it's,
layers.
yeah, yeah. It's like a quantum deprogramming
Yeah.
where you're getting into the layers of your consciousness and going, yeah, well, the family I grew up and struggled with money, but I don't have to do that,
Well, and people also don't
you know?
understand the gap period, right? Because if you've been thinking and believing a certain way for 14 years, and then you shift it for 6 months, that doesn't mean that you've unwrapped all of the layers of the last 14 years. And the idea then is to keep the faith in that. I call it the gap period. What did you say it's called?
Um, well, it's either the buffer zone, or the time delay.
Right. And I think a lot of people don't hold the faith long enough to get through that. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
also don't acknowledge the little results that are happening. You know, they may not be getting the big nugget that they were aiming for, but sometimes there's little things that you don't really understand that are shifting. You know what I mean? Within that. So you know, and it's funny too because I feel like the one thing that I marked down was the line about never knowing that we're never going to get too far from source. And I think we know that going in, but then but then a lot of times we have memory loss once we get here. And so it's remembering that. It's us remembering that to get back to that knowing that we always had from within, you know? Um uh Leo and then Mary.
Yeah, I was just gonna add to that. Um, so it's what happened, you know, Abraham talks about having a certain amount of momentum behind your thoughts and emotions, and then what the outcome of that ends up being. Well, if you've had so much momentum behind thoughts and emotions and actions for years and decades, you're not going to like course correct that immediately. Like you can't, that isn't going to turn on a dime, so to
Right.
speak. Right. So the example I like to use is the Titanic. Right. The Titanic was traveling from, you know, England to, I think, New York. And um, it was a big ship, and they're traveling in the North Atlantic, and there's icebergs, you know. So uh, that yeah, there's a danger there. Well, you know, there was I think someone, I forget the person's name, but there was someone on the ship said, "Hey, you know, if we go faster, then we can make it to New York ahead of time, and then look at us and look at this great piece of technological wonder, and the newspapers will be like the Titanic makes it in record time." And
Right.
so
Right.
they did. So they ramped up the engines and they went really fast. And if you're going too fast, you don't have the time to course correct. Um, you don't have the time to move out of the way to avert disaster. So I think when you're looking to change your life, change the course you're on, you know, and do like a course correction, I think it's okay to slow down a little bit because then you have time to make adjustments.
Right.
You know, instead of like I'm going full speed and I can't stop, and what do I do? And here comes the iceberg, and you can't get out of the way fast enough. And I think that's where people experience a little mana frustration,
Yeah.
where they're like, well, it's not showing up, and why isn't it showing up? It's like, you know, it's okay, just chill, take it
Get
down,
in it. Yeah.
and yeah, and just breathe, because that that time delay, it's there for your own benefit. It's there
Right.
for, actually it's there for your own protection, so you have the time to be able to course correct. So sometimes you're better off to slow down so that you can do that. So just wanted to throw that in there.
Thank you. Yes, I absolutely agree with that. It's just like when you know, when we were kids, you run around and run around and run around in a circle in the pool, and then you jump into the whirlpool that you've created. You know, but if you try to go the opposite of it, it's going to take a lot longer to get it to stop before it goes the other way. And that, in essence, probably is the gap period. It's that time where you're slowing down the engines from the direction you've been going so that you can get it back moving in the other direction. Yeah. Mary.
Yeah, so going back to what you were saying, Leo, is that what happened to the Titanic? They hit the ice because they couldn't maneuver?
Yeah.
Well, the thing was, it was in April, so it's like really cold up that, part of the globe at that time of year, and they're going full speed, and it's nighttime. So you got the situation with black ice where you don't really see it's there, and then you got an iceberg, but 90% of the iceberg is under the surface of the water, so you don't see it. So then, the guys who were on the lookout in the crow's nest, they're like, oh, iceberg. It's too late because then they hit it because they were going too fast. They couldn't get away from it. And then, it was a tragedy for everyone. So that's kind of like a lesson in humility, because they called it, the Titanic, the ship that even God couldn't sink. Well, you shouldn't say that, because you're tempting fate, right? And then they were going too fast. They didn't have time. Da 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 da. So that's what ended up happening. And they didn't have enough lifeboats, and they didn't plan it correctly,
Right.
and human error.
Disaster. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have kind of shifting a little bit. I have a funny story that I thought of when we were reading this chapter. And when I was young, I moved to the Northern California area, and I knew nothing about the area. And we had just gotten up there, and it was 4th of July weekend, and we wanted to go watch the fireworks, from San Francisco. Thought, oh my gosh, that would be so amazing. And we were staying in Fremont. We had basic idea of where things were, but not really. And we were driving north. I don't remember the numbers of the freeways now, but we were driving north on the Oakland side of the bay, headed up towards, thinking, okay, eventually we'll get there. And we did exactly what she talked about. At some point in time, we got nervous about where we were going. We didn't know, we weren't sure if we were going the right way. And we turned around and went back. And don't you know, we went all the way down to San Jose to get onto the other side of the bay to come all the way back up, because bypassing all the bridges in between where we could have just went across. And by the time we got to San Francisco, we missed the fireworks and the whole thing. And had we just kept going, we were probably maybe within 10 minutes of the bridge taking you from Oakland over to San Francisco. It was such a silly decision, but second guessing ourselves to that point, to where we diverted ourselves all the way around to try to get back up there. It was ridiculous. But I thought about that story when we were reading the chapter. Hi, Elena. How are you? Oh, maybe she's busy right now.
Maybe Elena's eating cookies.
Maybe so.
Who knows?
Elena looks like a teenage version of my picture.
Yes, she does actually.
I have no idea. Somehow I'm having hard time with the buttons today. Hello, everybody.
Hi,
Guess
how are
what? Guess what? I put in my calendar 6:30 of my time instead
Oh
of.
no. Well, we'll get this.
Let's start all over.
Right?
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
And speaking of cookies,
Oh. Well,
I
that's
just
so
took
yummy.
them out of oven.
So you are chomping on some cookies.
Anybody want to come over to have my Russian piroshki?
That looks so great.
So what chapter have you been
14.
reading? Which one?
14.
14.
Yeah.
And what it's all was about. I heard about iceberg. What
Well, it's the chapter where they talk about going to Phoenix and San Diego.
Oh, okay.
There, and if yeah. So yeah. Okay. Well, if we don't have any further discussion on the chapter, we can go ahead and move into reading the process. Is everybody ready? I will take that as a yes.
Of course, yes.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pause recording. I do have to admit for myself that this is a great moment for me to be working this process. And honestly, it doesn't have to do necessarily with the clutter of my house, but it does have to do with the clutter of so many responsibilities that I have taken on.
Mhm.
And I've been really looking at that this week and understanding that I'm gonna need to sift through and let go of some things. And I'm
Mhm.
gonna need to decide which things I need to let go of, or how to delegate some of those responsibilities out, or what have you. I remember the last time I did this, I remember thinking, oh, I just cleaned up my space. I don't really need to do this. And then of course we read the process and it got me going. And I think I ended up like rearranging my whole like all kinds of stuff just happened. And then it not only that, but I'm pretty sure my mind was in the same place as it is now then.
So,
And just clearing the stuff out cleared my mind up. And
Mhm.
so I'm very excited that this was brought forward because I think it's perfect timing for me. How about everybody else? Leo, and then Elena.
I think Elena raised her hand first.
Okay, Elena, then Leo.
I just wanted to say that since we started this chapter, I really was excited because this is exactly kind of I had been thinking like, oh my gosh, I really wanna get rid of a bunch of stuff in my office, old papers, old files, kind of all of this stuff. And had been thinking like, oh, I need to do this. I even came up with the idea that instead of feeling over, I realized that I started to feeling being overwhelmed, like how much work I need to do to clear the space and kind of to just to go through all the papers and everything. And then somehow something showed up in my life, kind of reminding me that if I would set up time, let's say tomorrow I have 1 hour and I would just commit for 1 hour to work on that project. And then kind of when 1 hour is over, I can feel free to do something else.
Yeah.
So just thinking about that, okay, 1 hour I can do 1 hour during the day. It's not a big of a deal. And then kind of I can feel free. I don't have to do all of this in one day. Obviously, it will take longer, but kind of just to feel better. And then the other thing I wanted to say, when I was in Russia and I had been in educational world, and while working and teaching and creating different workshops, you kind of clutter with the papers. And then you realize that, oh my gosh, it's too much. And again, clearing all of the space is kind of difficult. So in the group of our colleagues, we decided that also we would create several boxes and put stuff in it. And the rule was if none of us would use specific item, which let's say I put something in a box. If I did not use this item for a whole year, we just throw it away. And it actually does help you to keep everything kind of fresh and only those items that you need. Really.
Yeah.
I was actually impressed. First, I was resistant to that idea, But when we tried it for 1 year, then we made it as a rule, and really it does work perfectly.
I don't remember when the suggestion came about, but it had to do with the closet, hanging your clothes a certain direction. And then when you've worn them, you hang them back up in a different direction. And then whatever is still hanging in that direction after a period of time, you know you're not wearing it, you toss it out. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Alternate, yes.
Yeah. Leo?
Yeah.
Okay, I got some things to say here. All right, so, all right, wow, there's a lot to unpack, no pun intended. But yeah, I remember years ago when I lived back east, I met this woman who was a feng shui consultant, and she did a class at this wellness center on clutter clearing. For your mainly for your home, but for your home or office. And and of course I'm the only man like in the class of like, a dozen people or whatever it was. And it was a lot of I'd say women in their between like maybe like 40 and 50 years old, like somewhere in that range, right? And it was a lot of, well, the kids are getting older and it's going to be empty nest, and then like what do I do with the house, and I got all this stuff, and then the basement and the attic and the crawl space and the cubby hole and all these things, because that's how it is back east. It's not like Arizona where it's like you don't have a basement here, and it's a different world. And I noticed there was a lot of people that were emotionally attached to stuff. I can't let go of that. That was my grandfather's. And so they have all these things, and I had gone through a period there where I was, like learning about all this, sort of holistic metaphysical studies. And I went through having clutter in every room. It was everywhere. And the woman teaching the class said, your physical space is an extension of your mental and emotional space. So if you have a cluttered space, it's kind of an indicator of a cluttered mind and a cluttered heart. You might have a lot of stuff going on. I'm like, oh, well, that makes total sense. So what I started doing is I would go through each room one at a time and say, all right, what's the room I use the most? What's the room I'm in the most? Like the most number of hours. And I'm like, well, maybe the bedroom, right? So I went through and I just cleared all the clutter out of there. I'm like, this is where I got to sleep. I don't want to have a bunch of clutter in here while I'm sleeping, because when you have stuff in a physical space, it slows down the flow of energy in that space. I'm like, I want my sleep to be solid. So the bedroom, I'm like, that's it, no more clutter. And once I made that decision, I'm like, no more clutter will ever come into the bedroom. That's it. This is a clutter-free zone. And then I just went through each room, like, what's the next room I use the most? Well, maybe the family room, and then the kitchen. And I prioritized it in terms of how much I was using each room. And once I got each room decluttered, then that's the way it stayed. And I didn't bring any more stuff in there. Well, eventually I was down to one room left. It was like a Florida room, Arizona room, like bonus room. And that's where that was the last room left. It was all this stuff. So I created what I called the temporary clutter sorting, organizing room. And that's where everything would go, where I could say, okay, I got to go sort through papers, or I got to sort through this box. And I had a clock on the wall, and I would say, okay, I'm going to give myself 20 minutes. And if it gets too intense emotionally, because I'm going through these, I can just walk away and go to some other room that doesn't have any clutter in it, and I can get away from it.
Yeah.
It's a way to escape, because sometimes you're going through stuff and there's memories and emotions attached to it, and you got to walk away. But if every room is filled with it, you have nowhere to go and you're a prisoner in your own home. And when
Yeah.
I said that, she's like, wow, that's a great idea, and I said, yeah, I think that can help people to not be overwhelmed by it all, especially if you got a big old house with a ton of stuff in it. So yeah, that process helped me a lot. So I want to throw that one out. The other thing is um, she had mentioned clearing space so things can come into your life, right? So that's what I talk about in the pre-mana prep, the preliminary manifestation preparation, right? You set your intention that you want something to come in, but you got all this clutter in your space and in your mind and in your heart and in your life, and it cannot come in because there's no room for it. So I say, for example, if somebody wants to manifest a new car, well, do you even have room in your garage, or is it cluttered with stuff? Maybe you should have a garage sale, clear that space out so a new car can even come in there.
Yeah.
So that's the other sort of vibrational aspect of clutter clearing, is getting your space cleared so those things you want to manifest can come in. Because if you don't, it's like you're like working against yourself. You're working against your own best interests. And then the third bit I was going to say is the law of karma, which states whatever you send out comes back to you. Well, I keep getting people just giving me stuff for free. They're like, hey, you want this? You want that? So I got all this stuff that I don't need because the universal default mode is infinite abundance. So I've got extra this and extra that. Well, now I got all this stuff I can give away. I can give it to, Goodwill. I can sell it on Craigslist. I can give it to people. And then as I'm giving that stuff away, that's going to be reciprocated to me in kind, and people are going to want to keep giving me more stuff. so that's the other aspect to law of attraction, is attracting things, but setting it up so that
There's a
you
flow.
have so much abundance, you got to give the extra away.
Yeah. You're,
So those were my three bits I wanted to throw in there, my tidbits.
I love that. Thank you so much, Leo.
You're welcome so much.
Yeah. Mary?
The first one, I wanted to say thank you for the clothes, that the way you hang them. I
Oh,
like that idea.
sure.
Yeah. And on on this particular process, I feel like Leo, where I've been doing this for a long time, and I kind of have it down now, but yeah, I've been doing this for a long time after having 4 children, raising them, a husband, raising him. And it's interesting because he still is upset with me about getting rid of his first computer.
Uh-oh.
That big computer, the very first one. He still mentions that to the kids. Your mom throws everything away. But most of the stuff I have not thrown away. I'll go and sell it for $5. Everything for $5. And I've had the biggest garage sales. Well, now I am in a little casita. I'm in the process of moving in a couple of months into a 1-bedroom. But the casita is very small. It's just got a living room, a kitchen, and a bathroom. So you can imagine how uncluttered my life is. And I love it, honest to God.
When you have
everything can fit in my car, in my little SUV. Absolutely love it. But at first, my kids were like, Mom has gone crazy. Okay. But now they look at me and they go, wow, Mom, you got a lot of power. You know, I said, I don't have any power, but that's how they think now, you know. But so this process will come very easy to me, but I still need to do it. I have 3 box, you know, those 3 carton things that you buy at Costco. I don't know if you guys are Costco members, but I bought 3 of them, and I actually have a lot of little books and knickknacks. So I'm gonna still follow through and do the process. So yeah, thank you so much for letting me share.
Oh, absolutely. Of course. Thank you for sharing. Leo?
All right, I got tidbit number 4 I want to share here. I remember years ago I had lots of paper, you know, because everything was paper before the digital age. And then I would go out and someone would say, hey, here's this, you know, newspaper article, or here's this magazine, or, you know, you go for an appointment and the receptionist says, well, here, I'll write your appointment down on this business card. And you end up with piles of this stuff. And I wasn't very discriminating as to like what I was allowing into the space. And it's kind of like the old story of the vampire. They can't come into your home unless you let them, right? Unless you invite them in. So now if I go to someone and say, and they're like, hey, what about, I'll just take a picture of it with my phone.
Oh, yeah.
You know, or no, I'll just put it in the calendar in my phone. No, like don't hand me any paper, or like I don't want to bring it back with me, because then later I gotta go through piles of paper, and so I don't want to do that. So one of the greatest things of being in the digital age is that we don't have to have stacks of paper so much like we did before. It can be, you know, send it to me in an email, put it on a hard drive, I'll look it up online. You know, like I don't want to have all that. So that really helps. And I've been doing that for like over 10 years now. Just saying, no paper, no thanks. I'll take a picture, I'll put it in my calendar, I'll put it somewhere else, or I'll email it to myself or something. And then that helps to alleviate the stacks of parchment.
Wow.
You know, so yeah.
Yeah. Now I just have years of emails that I thought were important. So I saved it instead of deleting it, and then
yeah, well that's the other thing now, is then you get into like the digital clutter clearing, where you go through, you got to go through your email. But now what's great is you can now, well, at least on mine, you can organize those emails into folders.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. And then you know, with the MSN email, you can actually set it now to where if the email comes in, it can be automatically directed to a folder. So you don't got to be moving a whole bunch of stuff.
That's cool.
And then you can go in and select an email from a sender, and then say, okay, instead of having to click on each individual email from that sender, it'll just take all of them and move it to a folder, or the trash bin, or so it just enables you to like clear up your email quick, instead of, you know, like you're spending hours on it going through. And I think that's maybe what Abraham is driving at here.
Yeah, I agree.
Is freeing up your time, your energy, your focus, instead of like, well, you know, where's that pair of scissors? Where's the, like, you can't even find anything. Just getting it to where it's easy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's a good process.
Yes, I'm excited about it. I think it came at an amazing time for me in my life, anyways. Okay. Any other thoughts on the process?
I think everybody should do it.
Okay, good thought. Okay, so we've already got Leo set up to do the meditation for the next time. And I want to make sure to remind everybody about the upcoming um, studies that are coming up. We've got Elena is having her session, I believe, tomorrow night. Yes. Okay. And then Leo, you guys were just last week, so then you would be at the beginning of February, the first Thursday in February. Is that correct?
Yeah, Law of Attraction and Beyond, first
Law of
Thursday of the
Attraction,
month. And
yes.
and at the next one, Sonia is going to be doing an EFT.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yep. And then of course Sonia will be doing the Money and the Law of Attraction next Tuesday at 6:30 as well, I believe. So
Just a quick correction. Elena is not tomorrow, Tuesday, but the
or
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Sorry
It
about that.
is.
Yes, thank you.
No, it is. Mine is tomorrow, Tuesday,
What?
January 16th. Yes, I decided, just for
did
you
it.
to know, I decided to play a little bit more with different days, kind of to see.
Mm,
I just want to see if the day is the essential part for people when
right.
they come in. Last year it was every other Wednesday. So this time I thought we had a conversation with Christina about this, and I thought, why don't I try Tuesdays sometimes? You know, maybe some people would be more attracted to come on Tuesday. Maybe it is a better day for them. And then I still keep Wednesdays, so it will be one Tuesday, one Wednesday, and we'll see how it works.
Okay.
And I also wanted to say, just for you guys, I'm still thinking, I did not even ask an author about this. I had the idea to maybe share with people some books that I purchased in both ways, like physical book and PDF version of it. And reading myself and kind of using some exercises was very beneficial. And then I thought, why don't we start reading those books also kind of to offer to the group so people don't have to buy the book. They can first read it, and if they see the value, they can buy their own version of it. And recently on with one of the channelers that I'm working with, she just in a process of her book being published, and she offered us to read the book ahead of time so we can start submitting our reviews on that book. And I thought, wow, wouldn't that be nice to start reading this book with kind of people who are already in the leading edge? So if you guys interested, I mean, I just wanted to ask if you kind of support this idea. I did not talk to the author about this, but I think she would be excited if we start reading that type of a book.
Absolutely. And I think I had a conversation similar to that with Sonia, because I was thinking about, because I do follow some different teachers as well, and wanting to expand on that a little bit. And all of it, like we were saying earlier, Leo, you know, all of it kind of you can revert back and bring the information into and relate it to all of the teachings that we have as through the law of attraction. And so absolutely, I think that's a great idea.
Well, thank you. And I also kind of wanted to say to people about the support of each of each host of the meetups. You know, all of those people who are in the leading edge of leading edge, hosting the meetups, like Christina, like Sonia, like Leo and Elaine, like myself, you know, until you go through this process, you kind of don't realize it still takes like time, energy, efforts to do all of this, to put all of this together. On top of it, there is a fee we're supposed to pay every year for this meetup to be existed. There is a fee for the for Zoom meetings and stuff like that. So it's a great idea if we take in our mind, kind of think about this, and then go from your heart and support each of those groups. You know, the amount doesn't matter. The matter is that it comes from the heart, so we can contribute some amount of money to support this particular group, Christina's group. And I noticed that Christina already created the easiest way to do this. We can donate on the kind of before we go to the next meeting, we can donate to this group whatever amount feels comfortable, and yet it will be your contribution to this group and to support this group. So I'm going to do this, and I encourage everybody to do this as well.
I
I
appreciate
think
that.
it's a great idea.
That actually, I was encouraged to do that based off of one of our previous conversations. I went ahead and opened that up because it's an option that Meetup has to open that up. So yeah. Leo?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a question on that. So I know on YouTube, when a YouTuber does what they call a live stream, they can have what they call a super chat, where people can be on the live stream and they can like donate money to it. But it turns out like YouTube takes like a big cut of it. I think it's like 30% or something like that. So when you put that donate on the Meetup page, does Meetup take a percentage of that? Do you know?
I'm thinking possibly they do. I haven't
They
looked
are.
at the,
I know they are,
yeah.
Okay.
but they are taking something like about maybe 10%. So it's not that much.
Yeah, you have the
Oh, okay.
option to give 10%, 20, 15%, 20%, you know, to the meetup for of the money that you put in. Like if you put in $20, then you have the option. It gives you the option. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure if, to me, that is it. It's like it doesn't have that you cannot do it. You have to. The lowest I think was like Elena was saying, 10%, and then it goes
Yeah.
up from there. That's
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
familiarity.
I didn't know about that. I just wanted to ask, just for my own knowing there. So
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
My question,
I also
I'm
wanted-
sorry. My question has always been is because I belong to several groups, and my question has always been like, how much is it a year? Can you guys divulge
It's
that
about
information?
yeah, I can answer. It fluctuates depending on if you catch the message that as of right now, like for a specific time, they could give you, let's say, some discount if you pay in for 6 months or for a year. It could be like 30% discount, it could be 20% discount. If you catch that message, you can kind of jump on to take advantage of it. Generally speaking, it's about 220 for the meetup for the year. And Zoom is over 200 as well. I don't remember exact number. But something, well, it also depends on what plan you choose.
I pay monthly. I pay as I go. And so I know with Zoom, I pay like 16, I think it's $15.99 a month. And then with the Meetup, I pay, well, the amount of $26.05 so a month. So
If this is 26, then it's more than.
well, but I think that my amount, I don't know, but I think they maybe charge me more because I have 3 different meetups. I don't know if they
Ah,
charge more
okay.
per meetup or not, but that's how much I pay, because I also have a networking meetup, and then I
Yes,
also
they do.
have
They do charge per meetup,
yeah,
not per the name, per
right,
meetup for
right.
sure. Yeah. So yeah, it's about like a little bit over 200. I mean, 220 if you pay ahead of time for the whole year. And also about the same amount, if not more, for the Zoom,
Yeah,
depending on the plan.
yeah,
So I just thought that, you know, once in a while, I would throw this in every meetup, kind of to encourage people to support our hosts, just because of, you know, it's a for me, for example, and we talk with Christina about this. Definitely, we are doing this as a giving back to the communities, and just because of we wanna to share the knowledge of Abraham Hicks or other great sources to people around us, because we wanna have more open-minded people surrounded us, and some people to wake up to all of this beautiful knowledges, for sure. And at the same time, you know, it is always a great idea to build up communities that are also appreciative in their actions, kind of. Isn't that a great idea to be involved? I want to feel that I don't just come to get some knowledge from Christina and other wonderful members of this group. I want to be fully involved. So I want to feel that I'm a valuable member of this community as well.
yeah, yeah.
So Elena, on yours and Leo's, you guys are on Meetup, because I never see you. I scroll through Meetup.
The links that they've posted are the links for their meetups. Yes, you can find them on Meetup.
Oh, okay,
So
because
on my message where it says FFS and Elena is hosting this meetup, if you click on the link above these words, it will bring you to the meetup, and you can become a member of our meetup. Of course, it is free.
Yeah,
And then I also quite often, to people who I know directly, I would just give them the quick access for Zoom link. So you can copy both of those messages, paste somewhere in your computer.
I'm opening a Word document right now.
Yeah. And then whichever way you want to use it, it will be easier. And of course, would I want all of you guys to become and be and stay in our community with the meetup? Yes, absolutely. Come over. Let's have more fun with all of this.
Yes, I know. And Elena, I ended up getting clients that took me on Tuesday. But
Okay.
I think it'll probably be one of those things that I'll be able to try to pop in late, like I have been able to do here and there with the different groups. Okay, Leo, yes, you had something to say?
Before Leo will start, can I say the last thing?
Sure.
So to find our meetup of our group is actually easy. When you go on meetup.com and then slash, and after slash, you just write down downstream, and it will bring you to our meetup. That's the coolest thing one of our members did. I think it's so cool, you know, like to find in our meetup, you just kind of add a word downstream and you will be in our meetup.
That is cool.
Thank you. Leo.
Elena. Yeah, I you know, the thing I've realized is I always have more to say. Like that never ends. we just have
Guess
we just have
what?
to go.
It's a
We just
beautiful
have to go.
Guess
Yeah,
what? We love you for that.
thank you.
Yeah.
We just have to go do other things, you know. But yeah, I was gonna say, I forgot what I had this whole thing and I forgot what I was going to say. I don't know where it went, but
Leo,
it went
it is
it
Leo,
went somewhere.
Leo, it is your way of showing your shyness and modesty when we when we are telling you how much we love you.
Oh, gee. Thank you. Yeah, it's I was gonna say something about something. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. It just came back to me. I want to say congratulations to Elena and over 3,000 members
Yes.
at the
Yay!
group, and congratulations to Christina on. I think you're closing in on 500.
And that would be Christina and Sonia, because we're technically a part of the same meetup. So yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
All
Thank you.
right, Christina and Sonia, and we'll throw Andy in there too.
Yes, we will throw Andy in there. You know, it's so funny because he was the first one to approach me about co-facilitating, and he had this great idea that he wanted to do. But then he had some things he wanted to work through before he did it. And then Sonia reached out. It was like all of a sudden at the same time they were both, and I have a feeling that they're kind of co-creating the money and the law of attraction together a little bit as well. So I thought that was very cool. Okay, well, I think that is just about everything. We've talked about the other groups. We are all going to be decluttering over the next few weeks, and I'm so glad to see everybody. Thank you so much again for your patience with the last minute cancel and then the cancel on the first. I told everybody, but I took a trip to Colorado, so it was an amazing experience with fun music and singing and at different venues while in Colorado. So that was a lot of fun. But I am happy to be back with you guys. You know, I had a weird day today, and sometimes I get so stressed before I come on, but by the time I'm done with the meeting, I feel so much better all the time. And so I'm very, very, very grateful for all of you. Thank you so much. All
You
right.
know, I had been saying this for so many years, even before being a host of the meetup. You know, sometimes you feel so good and it's upcoming meeting and you think like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to go to this meeting. And then after the meeting, you just feel so good and so wonderful and so abundant and so uplifted that you kind of saying to yourself, oh my gosh, so good. I'm so glad I did come to this meetup because I feel just awesome. And then there are days when you feel so tired or you feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know to go to the group or not. Maybe I just need some rest. And I'm telling myself each and every time, it doesn't matter how much kind of down you feel and want to rest. If there is an Abraham Hicks meetup, go.
Yeah.
Because I know for sure that by the end of this meeting, I would feel so uplifted, so good, so amazing that I would say, oh my gosh, that was such an awesome time that I came to this group.
And rejuvenated too.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So thank you for that energy, Christina, first of all, and
Oh,
everybody else here. We all are creating that.
yes.
Yeah. So we all can say kind of like, yeah, I
We all
was
got the
good.
kudos.
I did this to myself and to others. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much. We are right on our way into 2024, and I look forward to watching it unfold with all of you. And we'll see each other in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds
Bye,
good to me.
everybody.
Have a
All
good
right, we'll see you
night.
next time.
Here.